cylinder constructor with radius as a parameter, and how to initialize radius of circle with this parameter. For that, first of all, we will provide the constructor. Okay, so as per the diagram, it is public cylinder double radius. Okay, that is the method. Sorry, that is the constructor. Now, in our circle class, in our previous experiment, we saw that if we don't provide any constructor, default constructor is provided. So here in this cylinder constructor, okay, I am not providing this super constructor call. Then when this cylinder object is created using this constructor, what will be radius value? Once again, suppose that in my circle tester class, I am creating a cylinder object, and let me create a new cylinder object, but this time I want to call this constructor to create cylinder object, and so I have to supply a radius value. Here I am supplying a radius value. Okay, supplying, let us say 20. Suppose that is my radius value. Okay, when I am supplying 20 as the radius value here, that means it will call this constructor. Okay, inside this constructor I am not doing anything. Height is also not assigned and the super constructor is also not called. Okay, now let us try to print these three things: radius, circle, and height. And because the variable name is cyl2, I am writing 2 here, and here also I'm writing 2. Okay, there is an error here. Okay, wait, this has to go to the next line. This is cyl2. Okay, now there are no errors. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, I have created just a new object, cylinder2. Cylinder2 is supplied with a value of 20 here, and 20 is received by this parameter radius. Okay, but inside this cylinder constructor I'm not providing any code. So what will be values here? Guess what will be expected values for radius 0, color null, height also 0, right? Very good. Okay, so height will also be 0. Can anyone justify why? Okay, cylinder constructor will internally make a super constructor call. Okay, but we did not provide it here. What will happen? Yes, because when we don't provide a super constructor call, automatically a super constructor call will be provided, which looks like this. Okay, and it will try to make a super constructor call to superclass default constructor, because even in circle class we don't have any constructors. There is default constructor. So it will try to call default constructor, and default constructor initializes everything with default values. Okay, so radius will be 0, 0.0, color will be null because color is a string type, reference type, and then after that it will come back here, and there is no statement here for height also. So height will be initialized with default value, which is double type, so 0.0. Okay, so let us test it. I am saving my circle tester. Okay, there is an error here. Let us check what this error is. Cylinder int is not defined. Okay, here it is expecting a double type value. I am supplying an integer value, so that is the error. I am supplying 20.0. Okay, now once again I am saving it. Even then it is giving an error. Let us see. Cylinder with double is undefined. Okay, this error you will be getting if your cylinder class is not saved. Okay, cylinder class star symbol represents that cylinder class is not saved. So I'm going to cylinder class and saving it. As soon as I save that, you see there is no error here. Okay, But I also have a doubt. Here I am giving 20.0. If I remove that 20.0 part, even then, will it work? Why? 20 is integer, radius is double. Why it is working? Because, yes, don't say 20 is less than double. You should say integer data type is smaller size than double data type. So smaller size value can be fit in a bigger container, bigger box. Okay. So 20 value, which is integer type, is smaller size than radius, which is double type. So radius variable can fit a smaller value. No problem. Okay. So now once again, cylinder circle tester, I'm saving it and I'm going to run it. And let us check the results. See, all the values are matching as we are expecting. Clear, right? No doubts? Okay, good. Now that was only a check of whether you understood or not. Okay, so now let us continue with our cylinder constructor, which has to initialize radius field. Okay, radius parameter is available, which is going to receive this value 20. Okay, and because this 20 is integer, this is double, it will be automatically converted into double type. Okay, which is called implicit casting. Okay, it is a type casting where 20 is automatically converted to bigger size value, which is 20.0, and it will be saved as 20.0. Okay, now that 20.0 we want to store in circle class field called radius. Okay, and in circle class currently we don't have any constructor which can receive radius value, right? There is no such constructor available. We have to provide it. Okay, so I'm going to provide that circle constructor which is taking radius as a parameter, right? I have just enabled that constructor which is receiving radius as a parameter. When it is receiving radius value, it will take that value and assign it to field radius, right? Okay, so here in cylinder constructor now, okay, now there are new errors. Let us see what the errors are. As soon as I provided circle constructor with radius as a parameter, here we see new errors. Okay, what those errors are? Let us read. It is telling the constructor circle parenthesis is undefined. Okay, once again same thing. That means this particular constructor with no parameters is not available in circle class. Yes, of course it is not available. Okay, but previously when we did not provide any constructors, then it was not giving this error. Even then default constructor was not available. This no argument constructor was not available even then, but it was not giving any error. Now I am providing a constructor, then it is giving error. Why? Because the first rule that we discussed about default constructors, it is telling if no constructor is provided in the class. That is very important. If no constructor is provided in the class, then only default constructor will be provided. Now we are providing a new constructor. Developer is providing a new constructor. Then default constructor will not be provided. Okay, is this clear? So let me extend the meaning of that. If at least one parameterized constructor is provided, default constructor will not be provided. Is this clear? Okay, if there is no constructor provided by developer in a class, automatically default constructor will be provided. But if at least one constructor which is taking parameter is provided by developer in the class, then that default constructor will not be provided automatically. Okay, it will not be provided automatically. So how to solve this problem? Okay, so there is a recommendation for developers. Okay, what is that recommendation? If there is at least one constructor with parameter in the class, then a developer must provide a default constructor too, along with constructor that takes parameter. Clear? Okay, why? Because like you see here, why we should provide? Because we are getting this error. What is this error? By default, super constructor will be called. If we don't make a super constructor call, then by default super constructor will be called. Okay, and when by default super constructor is called, it will try to call this constructor. It will try to call default constructor of the class. And if we don't provide default constructor of the class, it will find it as an error. Okay, because here also you see same error, it is saying implicit super constructor with no parameters is undefined. Same error. Okay, it is not defined, so we have to provide it, we have to define it. Clear? So let us define it. I am going to this constructor and I am enabling it. Okay, when I enable it, I just want you to observe these two errors. Okay, just observe those two errors. I'm enabling this. See what happened to the errors? Gone now, right? The errors are gone. Okay, so let us save our circle class, which is currently not saved. I'm saving it. And cylinder class also not saved. Okay, it is saved. Fine, no errors now. Okay, cool, good. Now because we have just provided this circle with one parameter constructor and this cylinder has to initialize radius, we will call superclass constructor, and always superclass constructor is called using super keyword. So super keyword parenthesis, within the parenthesis we have to supply a double type value because circle receives a double type value for constructor. Okay, this circle constructor is receiving double type parameter, and so in this super constructor call we have to supply a double type value, and we already have a radius which is double type, which is our parameter in cylinder constructor. In my cylinder super constructor call, I'm writing radius ending with a semicolon. Clear? Now what is happening? Okay, just let us check it and then I will explain what is happening. I'm going to circle tester. Now here I'm supplying 20. Okay, so expected result is radius should become 20. Color is still null, height is still null, still 0.0 only because here I am not assigning height value. Okay, so let us save and test. Cool. Radius is 20.0, expected is also 20.0. Okay, color is null, height is 0.0. No doubts? Clear? Okay, now let me briefly explain what is happening here. So what is happening here? Let us try to understand. So the very first first main method statement you can see is we are creating a cylinder object sil1 with this constructor, okay, which is not taking any parameter. Okay, so from here it will jump to this particular constructor call. Okay, and in this constructor definition it is internally making another call to this. Okay, from here what it will do, from here it will go to the super constructor. That means cylinder's superclass is circle, circle's super constructor which is not taking any parameter is this one. Okay, and so from here it will jump here. Okay, and from here radius is assigned with 1.0 and color is assigned with red. So it will create a object of circle type, and in this we will have radius assigned to 1.0 and color assigned to red. Okay, that circle object is created. Okay, and after these two statements are over, it has to turn back wherever this constructor is called. So it will go back here. Okay, and after that it sees this semicolon, that means the statement has ended. It will go to the next statement, that is here, and then height value will be assigned for that cylinder 1. Okay, this is the cylinder constructor getting executed for cylinder 1 object. Okay, so height value will be assigned. So let us say now height value is assigned to 1.0. That whole thing is one object. This whole thing is one object, which is our cylinder object. Okay, so that will be completed as soon as it reaches this statement. As soon as this statement is over, it will go back. It will go back where this constructor is called. Okay, and there is a semicolon, that means that is the end of the statement. This object now will be referred by this sil1 variable, right? So this variable is pointing to this object. Clear? Now next, as soon as this object is ready, that means sil1 variable is referring to this object, what will happen? It will go to the next statement. Okay, in the next statement it is printing circle radius is sil1 dot get radius. Okay, radius of sil1 object, which is this one, is 1.0. So here 1.0 will be printed, right? And here we have to change it. It is actually 1.0. Clear? Okay, so here also expected value will be printed. Now sil2. Okay, next another object is getting created. Okay, for that again cylinder constructor will be called. Okay, what is that constructor? Closely observe how it is written. It is written cylinder with 20. Okay, so it will try to call this constructor. Okay, because cylinder constructor taking double radius as a parameter, and one parameter uh, sorry, constructor with one parameter, there is only this constructor. This is the only constructor which is taking one parameter, okay, of double type, and it is supplying one value. So this constructor will be called. Okay, and in this constructor this value called 20 will be received by this parameter radius. Okay, then what is happening? Internal to that, this statement is executed. When that statement is executed, it is running a super constructor call with radius. What is this radius? The same value which is received here will be supplied here. Okay, and so super constructor with 20 will be called. And what is that? As soon as there is a super constructor, what it will do, it will go to circle class, because circle is the super class. Sorry, because circle is the superclass here. Okay, it will go to superclass circle and try to find a constructor which is taking double as a parameter, okay, and we know that we have such a constructor available. Okay, we have this constructor. Okay, this constructor is circle constructor with double as a radius, double as a parameter. Okay, so that constructor will be called. Okay, let me just change the color. Okay, so from here this constructor is called. Okay, and in this constructor this radius parameter will be receiving a value called 20, which is supplied from here. Okay, and then what is happening, this is a parameter 20, so this right side value will be 20. Left side is what, this dot radius is a field. Okay, so field of what, field of circle object. Okay, so once again what happens, another object will be created. Okay, I think I cannot draw there. Another object is created. In that object, radius is assigned with a value 20. Because that is double value, it will be 20.0. Okay, and then in this constructor, color is not assigned with any value, so color will be null. Will be null. Okay, and after that, this statement is over. This constructor is over. Okay, and as soon as it reaches the closing bracket, it goes back to this particular step where it has reached the ending of that particular statement. That means this constructor is over. When this constructor is over, it will go back where this cylinder was called. Where was it called? It was called here, right? So from here it will go back to this particular step. Okay, and then by that time what happens, this constructor, the cylinder constructor call is also over. Okay, so that means we are having a cylinder object. Okay, in this cylinder object, here we are not assigning any height value, and so height value will be assigned to its null value, which is which its default value, which is 0.0. Okay, now this new cylinder object will be referred by this variable sil2. Okay, so now this new sil2 will refer to this new cylinder object. Is this clear? Understood? So that is why when we are trying to print the radius value here, we are getting 20.0 because radius is having the value 20.0. Color we are getting null because color is null. Height we are getting 0.0 because height is 0.0. Is this clear? Okay. Understood how super constructor call plays a very important role in inheritance. Okay. How super constructor call is used to initialize superclass fields from subclass. From within subclass, we are calling super constructor call to initialize the fields of superclass.